Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a July wrap up, and to be fair, I can't even remember what I read in July, so this is going to be a very chaotic video. Let's get started. What I do know though is that I read 14 books in July, which has been my best reading month so far of 2020. I'm gonna try and go through these books as quickly as possible, so we'll see how we get on. The first book I read in July was The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. Now, I feel like I read this book a very long time ago. It doesn't feel like I only read this book about a month ago. It feels a lot longer than that. This book is about a character called Jack who meets this girl called Kate at a party, and it's quite insta-lovey, this book. They become quite close, they form a relationship pretty quickly in this book, and then all of a sudden, I had to check that it was on the blurb, that it wasn't a spoiler, but Kate passes away, and then all of a sudden Jack gets transported back to the day that he meets Kate, and he's then on a mission to try and change the path so that Kate survives. The tagline is like, what would you do to save the person you love? Yeah, it's all about that. I really enjoyed the friendships in this book, but the writing style wasn't for me. With the style of the story, it was quite repetitive because Jack was obviously reliving the day over and over, but because of that, I really got to be invested in the characters and Jack's story and his relationship with Kate. So I gave this book, I'm checking Goodreads because I can't remember what I rated it. I think it was a 3 stars, but let me check. I was wrong. I actually gave this book a 4 stars. I feel like it's a 3. So maybe I need to go and amend my rating of this book. But yeah, this is the first book I read in July. The next book I read in July, and I have a whole vlog about this book, and that is The 24-Hour Cafe by Libby Page. I read this book in 24 hours, The 24-Hour Cafe in 24 hours, because this book, each chapter is an hour timestamp. So it starts at midnight, like 12 AM, and then it does 1 AM, 2 AM, 3 AM, etc. all the way up to 12 midnight the following day. So this book is obviously set across 24 hours, all about a 24-hour cafe, a cafe that never closes. But this book turned out to be a 5 stars. I absolutely adored it. Oh, it was so good. If you want my immediate thoughts, like really in-depth thoughts, I would check out the vlog I did. But this book basically follows 2 best friends, Hannah and Mona. They're best friends and they both work in this cafe that stays open for 24 hours as waitresses during them trying to get auditions for jobs, as Hannah is a dancer and Mona is a singer. So this is basically like their in-between job, and as they work they come across all different sorts of life, and you kind of get to know them as 2 best friends, as individual people, and you get to know so many different characters. And I think the reason I adored this book so much is because you meet so many different people and it's just so good. I absolutely love it. And yeah, definitely go check out my vlog if you want more thoughts on this, but this was a 5-star book for sure. The next book I read, I went from 5-star to 2-star. Maybe even it was a 1. I can't remember, and I feel so bad about saying this. But the next book I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I couldn't do this book, guys. I know there's so much hype around this book and there's so much praise in the community about loving this book, about how it's so good. I just couldn't get into it. I don't think the writing style was for me. I couldn't give 2 beep about the characters. I didn't find myself invested in the relationship that was forming. I didn't like it. I literally have no thoughts on it because I skim read it so, I didn't even read it quickly. I read it in like a week, but every time I picked up, reluctantly to say the least, I picked up just so I could finish it. I skim read paragraphs where there wasn't dialogue because I just didn't care. And that's one of the first times I've ever felt that strongly against a book that I actually physically skim read it. So yeah. From a 5-star straight down to like a 1-2-star book. I think I even gave it a 1-star. Oh no, I was being generous that day. I did give it a 2-star on Goodreads, but I think it'll be one of my least favourite books of the year if it wasn't for me. I was just really disappointed because everyone really, really enjoyed that book. It just wasn't for me. So the next couple of books I read in a week, and that was for a vlog that I just posted where I reread the books that got me into reading. Those were, if you didn't know by now, the 2 books that got me into reading was Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher and Angels by Marion Keyes. I read these 2 in a week for that vlog. I'll leave it up above and down below. I started the week off with Angels by Marion Keyes. This was the book that I remember I picked up, devoured, and wanted to read more, and therefore I class it as the book that got me into reading. This book, the second time reading it, really, really disappointed me. I think it disappointed me more because I have that nostalgia feeling towards it, and the author now is one of my favourite authors for her writing style, but I just don't think this book showcases how talented this author is in writing. So I would check out her later books and maybe pass on some of her earlier ones. This book basically follows a girl called Maggie. I did get that right. A girl called Maggie who goes off to LA because she finds out that her husband cheated on her, and she goes to go live with her best friend Emily, who is currently in LA, and she goes out there to take some time to rediscover herself and meet new friends and kind of see where her life now is without her husband in it. And that's kind of the main plot of the story. I gave it a 2-star in the end. It infuriated me reading it. This book was published in 2002, so it's very outdated in the way it talks about some topics. I think some of the trigger warnings in this book are not addressed very well whatsoever, and I just didn't have a good time reading this book. And it kind of disappoints me because it is the book that got me into reading, and I feel like my younger self, I read this book when I was about 17, like, why was it this book that got me into reading? It baffles me. But yeah, I read that, I gave it a 2-star. And then I picked up one of my favourite books, and that's Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. This is, and still is, one of my favourite books of all time. I've read this now 3 times, and it's been a 5-star book every single time. This book basically follows a main character called Sophie, who lives in this quaint village in the UK, in England, and she works at this tea shop on the hill. She works for an old lady called Molly, and they actually form a brilliant friendship. Molly is about 60 years old, Sophie's mid-20s, I want to say, and they form a really, really good bond. And one day, the town gets really, really excited because this big movie is going to go film in this town. And Sophie bumps into one of the actors unexpectedly, and she doesn't know that it's one of the actors, and she makes a fool of herself in front of him, and a relationship blossoms, and I cry happy tears, I cry sad tears. This book just means the absolute world to me, and I just have to give a shout out to Giovanna Fletcher. It is signed as well. This 5-star, hands down, incredible book. It's not perfect, it just makes me very happy, and books that aren't perfect and can make you happy are still worthy of 5 stars. Not every single 5-star book you read has to be because it was like hands down perfection, the writing was incredible, the topics are amazing. Some 5 stars can be just out of pure joy and it fills your heart, and this is definitely one of them. So the next book I read was a graphic novel, Fence Volume 1 by C.S. Pacat. I really enjoyed this volume. I gave it a 3 stars. The art style of this series is incredible. I found it a little confusing because you're introduced to so many characters at once. But when I got to the end of the graphic novel, I felt like I wanted to continue on and read the rest. I then read, so volume 1 is a bind up of comics book 1 to 4. So then I just read the comic book number 5, and it just let me down. It's all about fencing. It's about this character who tries to beat this like ultimate fencing champion in high school, and it just follows all his friends, all his rivals, all his teammates, and their journey in fencing and trying to beat this like superior fencer. And it just, I enjoyed the first volume, and then when I went on to exploring more of the story, I found it just a bit repetitive because it is just all about fencing. I didn't ever get to a stage where the author explored more in relationships and other topics. It was just all about fencing, and for me, obviously, I don't fence. I've never been interested in fencing. So although the art style is absolutely incredible, and I give that book praise for how well and how amazing the art style is, the storyline just didn't really go anywhere for me. So yeah, I gave that 3 stars. I enjoyed what I read, I just wouldn't ever continue on with it. So the next book I picked up was Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a middle grade, and it follows a young girl called Ivy. She likes girls and she doesn't know how to express that to others, so she uses this journal to draw pictures of girls holding hands to just express herself. And then one day this journal goes missing, and you kind of follow her on her journey in discovering more about herself, creating new friendships. There might be a really cute like young female-female relationship in this. It was very cute. I gave this one a 4 stars. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I binged it in a day. This was so easy to get through. I really, really enjoyed how focused the family was. I don't read very many middle grades, but what I have noticed in middle grades is that family is a massive part, and they play a big part in most of the books I've read. And family is one of my favourite things about books. So when YA books don't involve families, I just feel like it's so normal to have a family, and it's so crucial to have like a family group, even if it's not like blood related family. It's such a big part of people's lives. Like when authors just skip over family dynamic, it kind of hurts my heart a little bit. I really, really enjoy getting to know the main characters' families and stuff in books. And this one didn't disappoint with the family. It was all about the family, and it's just, yeah, I could ramble about this book. I really, really enjoyed it. The next book I read was I Have Lost My Way by Gail Forman. This I gave a 3 star, and it's about 3 different characters, so you get 3 different perspectives, and they all bump into each other in Central Park. You kind of follow them separately and together, finding out how they've come to be at this time and place of Central Park. You follow a girl called Freya, who is a singer, but she's lost her voice. You follow a guy called Nathaniel, who arrives in New York and wanders into Central Park, having just had a family tragedy, and he's just trying to get away. And then you're also following a guy called Run, who is gay, and he's not out to his family yet, and he's just trying to come to terms with that. The 3 of them meet and they conquer the world together in a day, and I just really, really enjoyed the friendship in this. I was very skeptical coming into this book, as I only read a couple of Gail Forman books in the past and a very long time ago, so I wasn't sure that her books were still for me, but I really enjoyed this one and I gave it a 3 star. And then the next book I read was No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is a mystery thriller about a young woman that gets stuck in a snowstorm and on a motorway, and has to stop over at a rest stop to wait for the storm to pass. There's only a few other people in the same situation as her, so there's about 5 people in this rest stop. She goes out to try and get cell service, and she notices that there's a kidnapped girl in the back of one of the people's vans, and it's kind of like a who did it, whose van is it, why is this child kidnapped sort of story. I listened to this on audiobook, and it was so eerie. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend, if you are interested in picking up this book, to listen to the audiobook of it, just because I think it really enhances the overall storyline and tension that the book creates. It's very, very good. I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, because it is a mystery. But yeah, that is the next book, and I gave it a 4 stars. The next book I read in July, so we're powering through this, guys, we're getting there, is Field Notes on Love by Jennifer E. Smith. This is about a couple who break up, but they had this train trip booked around America. However, all of the documents, all of the tickets, all of the reservations are in the girlfriend's name, but she suggests for the boyfriend Hugo to still go alone. However, he can't go because all of it's in her name. He sends out an advertisement to find another Margaret Campbell, and luckily enough, someone replies to him and they meet at this train station having no idea who each other are. He just needs her for her name, basically, to get on this trip that he wants to go on. And they form a friendship and other things ensue, and it's really cool. I really enjoyed this book. I was giving it like a 3-star all the way throughout. I don't know if I'm the only one, but throughout the book I'm like, yeah, this is probably like a 3-star. And then, or like, this is, I kind of think of the rating before I finish the book, and it was kind of like a 3-star for me all the way up until the end, where I actually cried at the ending. So I had to bump up to a 4 because I didn't realise how invested I was in the characters until the ending. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and that was a 4-star as well. The next book I read in July, we're in July, was Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. I really enjoyed this book. I admit that some of it went over my head, but the main concept of the book I found so empowering. It's about a black babysitter, Amira, who looks after this little girl. She's about 2 years old, and she's from a white privileged family. And when the family have an accident at home one night, the mother, Alex, calls Amira to take the 2-year-old out of the house just so they can clear up the mess. Amira then takes the little girl to a local grocery store, and she gets accused of kidnapping this child because she's black and the little child is white. And it kind of, everything ensues from there. This book addresses topics such as performative allyship, as well as white privilege and Black Lives Matter. I really enjoyed the characters. Kylie Reid really knows how to write amazing characters. Even, I didn't think about it at the time, but Emma from Drinking by My Shelf really addresses this book in an incredible way, and she expresses her thoughts and feelings amazingly. So I'll link her vlog and recent July wrap-up in this video if you want a like better understanding of this book. She communicates her thoughts, I feel, so much better than what I could, and I really want people to read it. So I will link her video as well, because I think that her videos are really well done in explaining this book better. But yeah, it's incredible the way Kylie Reid writes characters, even down to the speech patterns of the little 2-year-old. They really come to life. It's such a good book to pick up. I want to actually reread this now, having seen reviews from own voices, from people who had a better understanding of this book when they first read it. I would love to reread it, and I feel like from my reread I'll get a lot more out of it. I still found it so empowering and such a good book. I gave it 4 stars anyway, but I think on the reread I'll take so much more out of it, and I am interested in picking this one up again soon. So that's that one. And then the next book I read was, it's getting so hot, I've shut my window for you guys and it's getting hot in here. I'm also getting really hungry. I'm filming this on my lunch break at work, so I'm getting very hungry and very hot. So we're going to wrap this up quickly. I've only got a couple more books to talk about. The next book I read in the month of July was Every Day by David Levithan. This is about a young person in high school, but every single day they wake up in a different body. They go by the name of A. They can be female, they can be male, but they're always in the same radius and they're always the same age. And one day he transforms into this character called Justin, and he takes this girl Rhiannon out of school for the day on like a date, and from then he becomes captivated by this girl Rhiannon, and it's basically about how their friendship and their relationship blossoms, even though he changes body every single day. But for me, it's also a movie, but for me the movie did a better job at encompassing the overall theme of the book. It's a really cool concept, but I think it just was a bit lackluster in this because you never get any answers. Like, this person changes body every single day, yet you never know why. It's just, you're just expected to accept it, and I can't. Like, why is he changing bodies every day? Like, why is it only in a certain mile radius? Why is it always the same age? Like, I have questions I need answers for. So I gave this book a 3-star just because I think the movie executed the idea better than the book. and I was never really 100% connected to any of the characters because you switched them out so quickly. Like, you have a day with them, and sometimes that day is literally a short paragraph. So yeah, 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it's not be all and end all favourite book for me. So the last book I read in the month of July was The Bride Test by Helen Huan. This is the second book / companion book to The Kiss Quotient. This book didn't live up to The Kiss Quotient for me. I found it very rushed. One minute the main 2 characters were meeting, and then the next minute the book had kind of ended. I don't know, I think the pacing for me felt a bit off. So yeah, I did listen to it on audiobook, and that might have been why that I didn't really feel connected to the story. I thought I did enjoy this book, but it just didn't live up to The Kiss Quotient for me, unfortunately, which is a shame. I gave it 3 stars. I still enjoyed it. It's just when you're comparing it to someone the same author's work, I feel like you can be a bit more critical, and for me it just didn't live up to how much I adored The Kiss Quotient. So yeah, that is my July wrap up. I think those are the I don't have them all physically, but let's try and do this. These are the physical books I read this month. Obviously I read 14 books in total. It's not actually that heavy. I think I could do some squats with this. But yeah, those are the books I read in July. I'm very, very happy I managed to read so much in July, but I'm definitely taking an easier route in August. I only have 6 books on my TBR. If you haven't seen my TBR, I'll leave that linked up above and down below for you. A brand new TBR game to add to your watch later of a million TBR games out there in the booktube community, but I just had to do one. It's so much fun to watch others, and it's so much fun to do your own. So I did that. I only put 6 books on my TBR just to give myself ease off the pressure a bit. I've read 10 books every month now since March, and then obviously in July I read 14, so I just feel like I can take a bit of a backseat. I've already surpassed my 50 book goal for the year. I'm on now 62, so I'm definitely ahead of schedule, so I'm taking a bit of a break in reading. So that was July. 14 books, a lot of pages, a lot of hours spent reading every single day. A lot of those books I read in a day. So yeah, it was an intense month for sure. I rediscovered a favourite book with Billy and Me. I found a new favourite with 24 Hour Cafe by Libby Page. I want to read more middle grade. There's new authors that I love. I would love to read more Kylie Reid when she comes out with more books. I would love to read more Ashley Herring Blake. But yeah, I just had to have a look at the spine. But yeah, so I've wrapped up July, so I'll wrap up this video. If you like what you saw and like what you heard, please give this video a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.